In every generation, there are dreamers, men and women who refuse to accept the limits placed upon them. Some are born into wealth, some inherit opportunities, but others begin with nothing. This is the story of one such man, a boy raised in the crowded streets of Banjul, a carpenter's apprentice with rough hands and a dream far bigger than the tiny nation he called home. When others thought of escaping across the oceans, he chose to stay. When others saw weaknesses in Africa, he saw strength. When others built for themselves, he built for everyone. From one house to 100 houses. From the Gambia to Nigeria to Sierra Leone and beyond. From a name whispered on the streets of Banjul to a name known across Africa. This is not just a story of a businessman. This is the story of a builder. A man who dared to believe that Africa could house its own people. A man who carries the nickname Tough, but whose vision is far greater than a single name. This is the story of Mustafa Njai, the carpenter who built an empire, a Gambian who builds Africa. The Gambia, a tiny nation, just 480 kilometers long, and at its widest, barely 50 kilometers across. A country often described as the smiling coast of Africa. For many, it is a place of hospitality, beaches, and tourism. But behind the postcard lies another reality. A nation where opportunities is scarce, where many believe the only road to success lies abroad. Yet here, in this small West African nation, one man decided to change the narratives. His name is Mustafa Njai. Unlike many entrepreneurs who looked outward, Mustafa looked inwards. In the Gambia, he calls himself a made-in-Gambia product. To him, those words are not just pride, but a declaration that greatness can be built at home. From the very soil of the Gambia, he crafted a story that now stretches across the continent. In a place where young people often dream of Europe or America, Mustafa's story reminds us that the land beneath our feet is fertile, if only we are willing to walk it. About 50 years ago, long before the title Real Estate Mogul was attached to his name, Mustafa was a young carpenter. He worked with wood, hands roughened by tools that bent over planks and nails. The work was hard, the play very small, but with every table he built and every chair he carved, a bigger vision took roots. Because Mustafa Njai was not just building furniture, he was training himself to become a builder or a dream builder. Carpentry taught him discipline. It taught him patience, the kind of patience needed to sand wood smooth or to wait for glue to set dry. But more than that, it taught him to see the potential where others saw nothing. A raw log could become a polished dining table. A simple plank could become a bed for a family. And if wood could be transformed, why not land? Why not lives? His transition from carpenter to builders was not a leap, but a natural evolution. One nail at a time, one plank at a time, he learned the craft of shaping reality. But while carpentry paid him bills, It did not satisfy his hunger. Deep down, Mustafa dreamed not of making tables, but of making homes. He understood something many overlooked. A house is more than walls and a roof. It is dignity. It is belonging. It is a legacy. That belief became the foundation of everything he built. Every single empire begins with a simple brick. For Mustafa Njai, it was a modest home in the Gambia. He was only 26 years old when he set his eyes on this building. A 3-bedroom home completed with a living room, a dining area, and a kitchen. Of course, with 2 toilets. Today, such a house might seem simple, but to a young man with limited resources, it was a big, frustrating challenge. It took him 6 good years to complete this single home. 6 years of savings, building, pausing, and starting again. There were days where he would run out of cash and he would wonder whether he could ever finish this house. When construction halted for months, but he still persisted. And when the final walls was plastered and the roof stood firm, when the keys of the doors turned for the first time, he had built more than a home. He had built a proof. The first house still stands today, a family treasure he has never sold. It is a reminder that his journey was not handed to him. It was earned brick by brick and sacrifice by sacrifice. But perhaps the most powerful lesson from this was that if he could build one home, he could build 100. And if he could build 100, he could build 1,000. This small home was the spark that would ignite his entire tough empire. The year was 1990. In a small office in the Gambia, Taff sat at a desk. His secretary typed beside him. That was all. No big dreams, no fancy headquarters, just ambition. That day, Mustafa Njai registered his company, Taff. Short, sharp, and unforgettable. No one could have guessed that this small company would one day grow across Africa. The beginning was hard. Contracts were few. Banks reluctant to give him money. The people doubted him. Who was this carpenter trying to build something so big? But Taff believed in himself. He had already built his first house. He knew what was possible. While others doubted him, he worked harder. Step by step, project by project, Taff Africa Global grew. Houses became estates, estates became landmarks, and Taff became more than a businessman. He became a name, a vision, a force beyond borders. What started with just a desk and a secretary had grown into a legacy. Opportunities often hide beside places no one else dared to look. For Mustafa Njai, that place was Nigeria. To outsiders, Nigeria was chaotic, too complex, too risky, and too dangerous. Many investors avoided it, unwilling to test their lucks in the line of the giants. But Taff, he ran straight into it. In Port Harcourt, Rivers State, he was offered a land. But this wasn't just an ordinary land. It was a swamp, a wasteland, drowned by tides, 2 meters underwater at high tides. Nigerians laughed at him. They had seen this before. Another scammer. They said, another foreign dreamer who doesn't understand this place. But Taff was not just a dreamer. He had the determination to make it happen. He saw beyond the mud. He saw homes, roads, and families where others saw nothing but swamps. It was a gamble that could have destroyed him. Instead, it defined him. He dredged 650,000 cubic meters of sand to reclaim the land. The numbers were staggering. The risks were enormous. But brick by brick, he had to transform water into soil, soil into neighborhoods, and neighborhoods into a thriving community. What was once considered as impossible became one of Nigeria's largest housing estate. And in that moment, Taft has proven two things. First, he could compete in Africa's toughest market. Second, that when people said it cannot be done, that was precisely when he could do it. By now, Taft had built estates across countries, but the more he built, the clearer it became that Africa needed more than houses. It needed cities. A house provides shelter, and an estate provides community. But a city provides life. Taft began speaking of new model, places where people could live, work, and play. Cities that weren't just clusters of homes, but an ecosystem. Schools for children, hospitals for families, offices for workers, and parks for leisure. Commerce, culture, and community woven together. In his homeland, the Gambia, he put this vision into test. On the vast expanse of land in Gunjur, he launched his most ambitious project yet, the Taft City. 5,000 homes across 500 hectares of land, a development so large that it would be twice the size of Banjul, the nation's capital. For a country as small as the Gambia, the idea seemed almost outrageous. But that was exactly the point. Taft was done thinking small. He was building futures, not just home. As the first brick went up, it was clear this was more than just building a house. It was about showing that Africans can create their own way of living, not just copy and paste or copying others. Taft was proving that Africans could build their own future by Africans for Africans. Every great dreamer has someone who lights their path. For Mustafa Njai, that light was Nelson Mandela. To Taft, Nelson Mandela was more than a freedom fighter. He was a symbol of strength, dignity, and courage. Mandela's famous words, "It always seems impossible until it is done," became Taft's daily reminder to never give up. Taft admires Mandela so much that he honored him in his own work. In one of his major estates, he built Madiba Mall, named after Mandela's clan name. It was more than just a mall. It was a tribute, a reminder that true leaders mean serving others, and that courage can inspire courage. But Mandela's influence on Taft went deeper. He learned from him that real progress must also protect human dignity. That's why Taft always says homes are not just walls or roofs, they should uplift people's life. He always includes trees, flowers, and green spaces in his estates. Flowers are the makeup of a city, he says. While others see landscaping as decoration, Taft sees it as essential. Building Africa is not easy. Every project comes with unseen battles. In the Gambia, Taft's biggest challenge was skilled labor. Fewer young people wanted to learn trades like carpenter, masonry, plumbing, or electrical work. Many only dream of going to Europe, chasing quick money. For a builder like Taft, it was heartbreaking. What use are land, money, and ideas without skilled hands to develop them or to build them? Instead of giving up, Taft decided to train the next generation. He set up a training center, an apprenticeship program. He often spoke to youths, saying, "Life is a ladder, not an elevator. You climb one step at a time. Skip a step, you will fall." These were lessons he had lived, from carpenter to builder, and finally to a business leader. Through every speech and project, Taft repeated one truth: the dignity of work is the dignity of life. He faced many problems: bankruptcy, labor shortages, doubts, and many more. But he never judged himself by his problems, only by how long he kept trying. And in the end, persistence always won. By the year 2000s, Taft had done what many thought was impossible. His name was known across West Africa, from the Gambia to Nigeria, as a man of bold ideas and big projects. But he wasn't satisfied, because Taft's dreams was not just for the Gambia, it was for Africa. He set up huge goals to build 1 million homes across Africa in 20 years. This was not about money, it was about giving Africans safe, dignified homes. African cities were growing fast, and without housing, the future was at risk. So Taft became a Pan-African builder, not just a Gambian one. He built estates in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and worked with government in Senegal and beyond. He became one of the few African entrepreneurs trusted across countries and cultures. With every few projects, he proved one message: Africa's future doesn't need to be imported. It can be built by Africans for Africans. Legacies are not made of stone, they are made of people. For Mustapha Njai, his great pride is not his buildings or awards, but the lives he has touched. Each house he builds shelters a story: a child studying, a family laughing, a grandmother watering flowers in peace. That, he says, is true success. Not how much you earn, but how many lives you improve. Even with all his success, Taft remained humble. He is still the boy from halftime, the carpenter who chooses hard work over shortcuts, the young man who chased his dreams with faith. But Taft knows legacy must go beyond one person. That's why he invests in mentorship and youth leadership. He tells them, your inheritance is not money, it is the character you build. Build that and success will follow. He still spends time with his old friends, his Vu, Boyami, laughing, debating, and enjoying life. For him, those moments are just as valuable as business meetings. They remind him that greatness grows in communities, not isolation. The story of Mustapha Njai is not just about buildings. It's about resilience, faith, and hope. It began in a small street of Banjul and now spans across Africa, from the Gambia's shores to Nigeria's cities, from Sierra Leone to Senegal. Taft's dream is simple: to build 1 million homes and with them build dignity, opportunity for African families. As Mandela said, what counts in life is not what we have lived, but the difference we have made to others. By that measure, Taft has already succeeded, but his journey continues. And when the story of modern Africa is written, his name will stand among the builders, the dreamers, and the visionaries. Those who believed in Africa could rise, one home, one city, one dream at a time. This is his story.